So, Ben, I have already introduced you. Although to a lot of our listeners, you'll need no introduction because you've been around for a while and you're doing awesome things out there. So, a lot of us will know you already. So, I'm just going to crack on and get chatting if that's okay with you.
Whatever you want. You're the boss.
Awesome. Okay, let's get stuck in. Ben, you have built multiple businesses and a whole personal brand, like I say, that a lot of us already know you from. You're all about being high performance in every area of your business, which I love. So let's just dive right in. What does it take to be a high performing entrepreneur, small business owner in 2025?
I think a big component of high performance is energy, your energetic state, how you turn up, how you can continue to turn up. Now, energy is an interesting topic because we often think of energy as just like your ability to just kind of like do things. But there's kind of like your mental energy, your emotional energy, your physical energy, and a lot can kind of detract from that. And I don't think it's as simple sometimes as just looking at like being able to sleep well, eat well gives you kind of half decent energy that will. So I think the management of your energetic state is really important and really powerful. And in the world of like high performance, like I feel sometimes a little bit like even saying it, like when we think of the word high performance, it feels like more, do. It's got this kind of like assumed energy behind it. And I don't think that's what high performance is. I think it's us being able to perform in any given situation to the best of our ability, whether we're in a meeting, whether we're on stage, whether we're writing a proposal, or whether we're at home with their kids. That moment has the best of us mentally, emotionally, and physically. And in the world of business, I think it can kind of take on a bit of a toxic form because many business owners are looking for more, like more leads, more sales, more productivity, more output. And sometimes more comes from less, or sometimes more comes from more presence. And perhaps we shouldn't even, use the word more. Perhaps a better word is like better. Like I want to be a better performer. I don't want to perform more. I just want to be better in all that I do. And I very much felt the negative effects of this when I kind of burnt out and got really ill, and my recovery period was long and hard because I'd just taken the more approach to everything, like more training, more work, like less sleep, and sort of died on the sword of business a little bit too much. And I kind of had that wake up of like, why am I doing all of this? It's not just to be like someone that has such a ridiculous output that, and I very much built my self-worth on my output too much. Like I get to the end of the day and if I'd done a lot, like I was happy. And that was very unhealthy as well. So yeah, high performance. I think it's you being able to turn up to any situation in your life and perform to the best of your ability, given your skills and awareness in that moment.
Yeah, that's some really good points you make there. Yep, and I can't deny when I hear high performance, that is where my thoughts go. Push, push, push to be the highest performing version that you can be. But actually, when you were speaking there about it's about doing your best, and I do link that back to parenting. So I've got young twins myself, and every day's a school day, isn't it? Like, I mean, no one knows what they're doing. They don't arrive with an instruction booklet. And we'll definitely get into that later because you and I became parents at the same time and during lockdown, I believe. But I'm doing my best, like with the best intentions, like I'm doing my best. I'm not always going to get it right, but I'm striving to do my best. And we can absolutely adapt that to our business as well. It also doesn't come with an instruction manual. There's lots of support out there, but ultimately we're just learning as we go along and trying to do our best. And so yeah, it's about trying to be better than we were yesterday or this morning, or is that a bit of a better thought process than high performance pushing for more.
Yeah,
I know.
definitely. I think within that, it's like it's really important for us to continue to define the rules that we want to play in. Like, the rules that we or the goals that we had like 6 months ago, like might have changed. Like, because you can get caught in business, right? Like you get your business off the ground and no word of a lie, everyone's got to hustle at the start, right? You just got to put the hours in. You don't know what is always going to be the right thing to do, especially with like marketing, like what's the best way to market my business? You just got to work. But then you start to get, successful, secure, and, many of us don't always readjust and go, oh, actually that income goal that I had of like 50 grand a year to leave my job, like I've done that. Let me reassess if I want to apply the same level of effort, because actually now I've got to that level, I'm in a position of power to an extent. I can readjust things. I can choose whether I, work more, or, choose how I approach the business, because I've kind of reached a milestone. But because
Mm.
you embed so many habits and behaviors into your lifestyle, you might have this, you've kind of almost like programmed yourself for hustle. You're waking up at 6 a.m., you're
Mm.
doing the thing, you go to the gym, you come home, you work for an hour, and then it becomes a habit. And sometimes you've got to stand
Mhm.
back and go, oh, do I want to keep doing that? Because I don't have to if I don't want to. Like, I got a certain point in business, I was like, I'm pretty good financially. Like, I'm like, and so it's just really important to pull yourself back at times and go, where am I at and what do I want?
Absolutely. And of course, if we are pushing all the time, I know a lot of listeners will be in that hustle start stage at the start, and it's hard to break out of that. And if you are always striving for more, then stress creeps in, inevitably, doesn't it? I know you've mentioned before that you feel like stress can be a hidden killer for small businesses. That, of course, starts with the small business owner. You are very much the face, the voice, the brand of a small business. So how do you yourself feel when stress is creeping in? How do you sort of catch yourself before it becomes a problem?
So the only form of stress in my life these days is honestly just like overall load, if I'm just doing
Mm.
too much. But honestly, I've hit in so many roadblocks and done it the hard way for so long. I am in a place
Mhm.
now where I'm like, I don't have any stress, I have the freedom that I want. Like, nothing's a struggle, everything's just a challenge. Like, we've got challenges in our business right now. Like, we've, three of our most popular products, we've not had stock for 3 weeks. Like, that's huge for a business that's doing multi seven figures.
Mhm.
But I'm like, can't change it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to lose sleep over it. Like, there's literally nothing I can do. I've just got to sit and be
Mhm.
patient for this one to kind of blow over. So previous stresses for me were very much working and doing too much and thinking that I was invincible. Because I've been in the health industry for a long time, and I would say I know more than most about health and fitness and how to look after the body. Kind of gave me like a bit of a God complex. And it's like, well, I know how to recover better than most, and I'm eating great, so it'll all be fine. And it's like, stress is stress. Everyone's got their breaking point, and I sat on the
Mhm.
edge of breaking point for years, just having this like micro burnout. And it just took, unfortunately, more aggressive forms of burnout and then a very bad one for me to kind of have that wake up call and go, things have got to change. 34 and I can't get out of bed. Like, and that's not old. That's like 34 is young. Um, so yeah, for me, it was very much overworking, doing too much, being
Yeah.
driven by unhealthy standards that I set myself. And then there was a lot of identity and fear-based behavior wrapped up in that as well, which took
Mm.
quite a long time to unpick. But yeah, it's good. I'm out the other end and I feel amazing.
And of course, you don't arrive in the situation like you've just described there without the low points. It's not possible. You've mentioned there a few rough times, and I know you've quite publicly spoken about your rough ride with COVID and long COVID. Was that a sort of turning point, an experience that changed things for you as well as to how you run your business?
Yeah, I mean, that was the catalyst for everything. Long COVID, from what I know, is another form of chronic fatigue syndrome. Chronic fatigue in type A personalities is more common than people would think. Chronic fatigue is essentially a very severe form of burnout where your executive function is greatly lowered, you've got low motivation, don't want to get out of bed, you have like multi-system kind of dysregulation in your body. And what happened is I got really ill, and then you're like, right, I'm ill. And he's gone like a physical journey to make myself better. And then I went on that physical journey. And when I got, quote, better, there was a few things I just couldn't get right. And I just didn't feel myself. And that's when like the mental and emotional side of it came in. And I think ultimately what happened is I had almost like a midlife physical, mental, emotional crisis where it was like, you're out of alignment and you need to change a lot of stuff. It's not just the physical body. You don't just need to get better. You need to
Mhm.
change how you approach your life. You're a parent now, your goals have changed. And it just made me reevaluate everything, like everything.
That must have been quite difficult for you because you very honestly said there, you know so much, you've got so much experience, you had this sort of godlike complex, like I can recover from things a lot easier than other people. But here you find yourself in a situation where what you were doing wasn't working, you had to reevaluate. Must have been difficult.
Yeah, it was difficult, really difficult. It's the most difficult journey I've kind of been on. But I just knew it was necessary. Like that was it. Like this just has to. And I remember being ill, thinking, oh, if only I could just go back to like old Ben. I was like, hang on a second,
Mm.
old Ben is what got you in this position. If you go back to
Mm.
old Ben, you'll be back here again. We need a new Ben. We need the real Ben. And that was when the journey to kind of like the real Ben sort of kind of started.
It must have been tough. And so, how did going through all of that affect your business, affect how you ran your business?
Yeah, badly. I couldn't show up as a leader. I've actually done a little exercise in the company where we think we lost about 500,000 in revenue due to sort of what was happening, my absence. Not, I was in the business, but I was trying to like paper over myself. I was trying to show up as a leader, but I was, useless. And what I should have done is gone to my team, and I had a, solid team at the time. And I said, look, guys, I'm really ill. I need to step back from the business. Like, I need you to all step up. Like, what can we do to protect me? I'll be here a couple of hours a week. I'll come in for some key meetings, help you with some decision making. I need the time to go and get better. And my team would have rallied around it. They would have, but my ego was too big.
Mm.
My identity was too wrapped up in my business. So I was like, right, I need to be there. I need to be doing the marketing. I need to be doing all this stuff. And I didn't. And to be honest, I think my business would have grown just as well as it was. I don't know, if not better, if I just said to my team, you know what you're doing? Like, you're here, you know the job, you've been here for a long time, you know the business, you know
Mm-hmm.
the customer. But I didn't, unfortunately. And, that was also part of the journey that I had to see, that I was then becoming a problem in the business because so much revolved around me. I'd put myself in so many of the different cogs and departments and processes and stuff that it kind of almost had to make me show up. So we kind of had to go back to business 101 when
Mm-hmm.
when I did kind of realize all this stuff, because it's like, oh, actually, we don't have a process here because it's all in Ben's head, and there's no system
Mm.
here, and there's no autonomy in this area of the business. So yeah, it affected my leadership, it affected my decision making, it affected like my ability to hire because I couldn't really get a real good feel for like people. Yeah, it affected a lot. And, the people around me sort of had to like carry it but not carry it. Like, they weren't
Mm-hmm.
formally carrying that, and it would have been a lot easier if I was just out of the way.
And did you realise that yourself, or did someone within the team have to highlight that for you?
No, I had to realize that myself. I mean, thinking back, did people say it to me? I don't remember. They might have. Would I have heard it? Was I ready to hear it? That's another thing,
Mm-hmm.
because we will only accept information that we're ready to hear. Like, they
Interesting.
say, the coach will show up when the student's ready. And, if you're not
Mm.
ready for that information, for that change, you just won't even see it. You won't let it in. Your ego will keep you exactly where you are because it will want to keep you safe and feeling powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we can't go back and rewind the clock and change things. All we can do is learn and improve.
Absolutely. There's no failures in life. It's just, it really is. It's cliched, but it's all an opportunity to learn, isn't it? If you want to. If you want to learn. And you touched on something important there as well, I think, for small business owners listening, because a lot of them won't have a team. It's them, solopreneurs, they're wearing all the hats. There is no team to fall back on. But you mentioned systems, which is really important. And if you've got systems in place so that if the shit does hit the fan, you can hire in if that's an option for you. There's virtual assistants, for example, and if you've got standard operating procedures, sounds a bit corporate, but it's good to have these things, have these systems noted down so that you can pass off to someone else. And did you change anything like that in your business systems? You said you were integrated into every area. How did you change that so that you weren't?
I didn't change anything in my behavior apart from like stepping back and fully empowering my team. So I've got a great COO, and I sort of almost got out of her way, and I was like, look, create
Mm.
systems for this, processes for that, stuff that she'd been wanting to do for years. But I was like, no, we don't need that. I'll do this. We'll manage it easily. Just have this G note or whatever. So I let my staff do their thing because they knew what they were
Let them do their
doing.
job.
I was just in the way of it. And now there's loads of different systems, and it helps make the business run way more efficiently.
What a humbling process this must have been for you.
It was, yeah.
Yeah,
All
it must
while
have been.
navigating being a parent of young children, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that next. Was there at any point during that you thought about walking away from your business?
No, I had too much pride in it. I've also been an entrepreneur since I was like 2021. I say entrepreneur, solopreneur. So I started out as a personal trainer when I was 20 and probably well, I didn't go full time in business probably till about 2012, 2013. Kept doing a lot of like jobs on the side, supporting my income,
Hmm.
finding out where I really wanted to go with the whole kind of entrepreneurial journey. I'd also been at low points before. I think it was like 2016, 2017. I spent 9 months like fighting bankruptcy. So I knew that I had it in me to kind of dig and to be
Okay.
resilient. And I was like, I've kind of been here before. The challenge is different. I think I'm very fortunate in that I don't know when it was in my youth, um, but around kind of leaving school, I think that was when the Dragon's Den program started. And I really enjoyed it as a young man. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember buying all of the Dragons books and
Hmm.
just reading all their journeys, Peter
Yep.
Jones, Duncan Ballantyne, etc. And I think what I picked up is just that in everyone's story, there's hardship. You know, in every story, there's like, this happened, it took us 18 months to turn it around, like there was a health scare. And I was just like, I think that left something in me that, like, at some point, this is coming in your journey. No one's immune to like hardship,
Hmm.
health hardship, financial hardship, grief, loss, etc. So I
Yep.
just thought, well, if they can get through it, I can get through it. Like, you
Yep.
know, we're humans, we find a way. Like,
Yep.
and I'm not someone that's going to go and, oh no, like I'm just going to go and get a job. Like I'm unemployable, so I'm not going to get a job. And
I'm now unemployable. He's like, you just, I mean, he couldn't imagine me having to be somewhere for 9. I'd be like, 10 past. What's the problem? Like, I'm here
yeah,
now. Yeah, yeah. I think I'm in that camp as well. So I've got to make this work. Yeah, interesting.
the dark times, but there was always something that just made me believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you touched on how your entrepreneurial journey started, and you said the word solopreneur, which is a lot of description that a lot of the small business owners that will be listening today can relate to. They're wearing all the hats, they're solopreneurs. So what did you do at that point? You were a personal trainer, and how did that work out? Is it what led to the bankruptcy?
No, no. So personal trainer, when I was 20, this would have been like 2005, 2006. Just started off in a small studio, did that for like 9 months, and then I live in quite a small town, and it didn't feel like there was a lot of opportunity in a small town. So that's when I went to uni. So I went to uni as a 3-year mature student, studied sports performance and coaching. And while I was at uni, just got stuck in, like did every job go in, did internships, just like put my hand up for everything. There was one point
Hmm.
in my second year, I had 5 jobs while doing sort of my degree. And then in
Hmm.
my second year of uni, an email got sent around from my university from a new enterprise center that had been built and said, look, have you got a business idea? There might be grants available. So I went and sat down. I was like, I've actually got a little bit of an idea. Like, I've seen this whole online world start to grow. I wonder
Hmm.
if you could do nutrition coaching online. So the head of the enterprise center sat me down and he's like, this is how you would build your business. And he took time with me and I applied for a grant. I got a grant, borrowed a little bit of money off my granddad, used a bit of my student loan. And I think I invested like 6 grand into my first website to build this online nutrition coaching company. I spent a year working on that, failed miserably, like wrong avatar, wrong product delivery, low profit margin, like just made all the mistakes. Was around good people and they were like, look, your business model isn't broken, it's just how you've gone about it and your why and the avatar you want to serve. So they took me through this kind of like business avatar process, brand process, which was great. And they
Hmm.
then built the sort of same business but differently. And this time, I won't say it worked like there and then, but it felt right. Like it
Hmm.
fitted me and it felt like there was stickiness there. So I worked hard and it took me about 2.5 years. And by the 2.5 years mark, I had clients all around the world. I had coaches working under the brand and we kind of did like fitness, body transformation type coaching packages online before it became like, a really mainstream thing. And then in
Hmm.
2014, started to develop like I want to do something slightly differently and have a different impact. So we went into education. So the business then had nutrition coaching and then nutrition education. And we built the UK's first level 4 nutrition qualification. And then a
Mm.
couple of years after that, I went into the supplement business. So yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
how it kind of like morphed. But
Such
after
a
that
lovely
point, it was all
natural.
progression. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice one. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, you mentioned avatar there. I'm going to presume you're talking about your ideal client avatar.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is a topic I am so passionate about, and I just could shout from the rooftops to every business owner of any size. That's where it begins, isn't it? You have to be so clear on who you're speaking to. Yeah, would you agree?
Message gets lost.
Yeah, yeah. The whole you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. It's so
Mm.
true. One of the
Yep.
most important things you can do before anything else is get clear on who it is you want to attract. And then, of course, you learned that the hard way. But now that you did learn that, and now your business is so much bigger than it was when you started at that point, is it something that you guys still keep in mind in your company?
Yeah, we're reviewing it. We've literally just done a avatar review like 3 months ago. Every business evolves, the founder evolves, the marketplace evolves, so it can shift.
Yeah.
What's clear, what needs to happen is just to make sure that all the business behind it know who you're serving, how you're serving them, and it's communicated in your marketing, your website, etc. And if you're not getting clarity, this is where it can be really valuable to invest in someone coming into your business and sitting you down and being like, right, let's workshop this. Let's,
Hmm.
chat about it so you can get that clarity. Because sometimes it can just feel like that bouncy ball that bounce around in your head. And spending a couple of £100 for someone to workshop with this properly
Yeah.
creates such a cascade of clarity through your business that it is pretty invaluable.
Yeah, and sometimes a pretty awesome feeling workshopping someone with someone else. Validation that you're actually okay, I'm on the right lines. But it's
Mm.
just making sense of it all, isn't it? Yeah, so totally on board with that. The ideal client avatar, massively important at every stage of business, and it's not a one and done exercise. It is something that has to be revisited because it will evolve. It will absolutely will evolve. So next thing I'd love to chat about, Ben, is parenthood. As I say, I'm sure you became a father, same times I became a mother. Lockdown 2020, is that right? Yeah. So tough times worldwide, never mind becoming a parent at that point, but what I'd love to ask first off is, what did you imagine running a business alongside family life would look like before you became a father? And what did it actually look like once your daughter, it was, wasn't it, arrived?
Yeah, really tough because I mean, lockdown happened. It was pretty easy. We're at home. I had an office in my garden. I had that for a kind of a while. So the whole setup was quite easy for me to like log on to work and log out was, very easy. I've always run a purely digital e-commerce company with everyone being remote. So that was the
Hmm.
norm for me. Um, it was fine at the beginning. It kind of worked okay. The child's young, mostly want mum. So like, pretty easy on the man. But then I got really ill, so I was trying to battle being a present parent, lead a team through a global
Yeah.
crisis, and then try and sort of like look after myself. So that was really the kind of challenge. I think the thing that I struggled with is just to make sure that I was putting enough time into everything, and because I've quite felt quite fearful about business, fearful about my health, fearful about a lot of things. I was always pushing rather than like
Hmm.
trusting in myself, trusting in the process. And that made me just keep pushing in all areas. And it didn't allow me to see like the bigger picture and stuff. But right from day dot, my number one guiding word in life is freedom. So I've always had a life of flexibility and freedom at the forefront of it. I've not always had it in the way that I truly could have because of some of the things that held me back, but I've always had quite a lot of flexibility. Like you say, if I want to go to the gym at 10 o'clock in the morning, do a class and start my work at 12 and work till 6, like fine, like absolutely, doesn't matter sort of thing. So um, I think the challenge with parenting against work, in my opinion, it's essentially a volume equation. Like the more you work, the less you can do of other stuff. So as a business owner and as a parent, I want to try and define the rules as much as possible. So it's like for me to be a great parent, for me to look after myself in the way that I want to and live my life, and to build or sustain a company. So you don't always have to build. Sometimes it's just about
Mhm.
maintenance, sustaining, and that's perfectly good. That's a normal goal.
Mhm.
Like you're allowed to have that as a business owner. Like you might sit there and go, my business is earning £100,000 a year. I have a great lifestyle. I would like to stay here. That's a perfectly
Mhm.
acceptable goal. You don't have to have this constant growth mindset.
Yeah.
So I'm like, right, well, if I work 20, 25 hours a week, I've got time to parent, time to live my life, time to look after myself. Great. If I try and work more, then things become at conflict. So the challenge for me in business was, okay, I'm currently working 50 hours a week. How do I work 20 hours a week and still have the same level of leverage? And that's when you
Mhm.
start to play a totally different game in business. Because, I was speaking to a business owner the other day, and what were we speaking about? I think we were speaking about schooling and sending our kids to private school. And she was like, oh, I don't currently have the money to send my kids to private school. And I said, well, we're business owners, we can earn more. And she went, oh, but I'd have to work harder. I was like, it's a dangerous comment. You shouldn't have to work harder. You need to find a way to leverage your time better. There's
Mhm.
people out there that are running £1 billion companies working 10 hours a week. Like
Mhm.
everything is possible. So it's about how we
Mhm.
approach it, how we leverage our time, how we use our skills. So that was the game that I started to play around 2022 because I was still working like 50, 60 hours a week. It was like, how do I work 20, 25 hours a week
Mm.
and run this company
And
so I can live my
sorry,
life?
Ben, can I just ask, was your thinking about your model of the 25 hours a week, was that before baby arrived? Where you were thinking you would be able to sustain that?
No, I hadn't really thought through sort of how much I would be able to work. Like I didn't really kind of think through it. And I think it's
So it wasn't until you were
because,
in it.
yeah, like my wife was fortunate at the time. She had a good maternity package, so she was going to be off for quite a while. Like
Mhm.
she was kind of going to be full time, and I did knew at that point. I was like, Dad's not that helpful in the early days. Like we can do some stuff definitely, but baby wants more mummy, and we kind of knew that to an extent. Um, so yeah, I just kept rolling with it while I was in it.
Okay. And so when you were in it, then you realised that model had to change. You were working 50, 60 hours a week and you wanted to move to this sort of 25-hour a week model so you could be
Yeah,
more present in all areas.
yeah, because before that I wasn't a parent, and until you're in it, you don't really know what kind of like parenting looks like from a time
Mhm.
perspective. Like I think most people think they will have more time than they do, but you don't. Like every day's chaos to an extent. So it's like I wanted to have that bandwidth to allow for the chaos, to allow
Mhm.
for the random.
Yeah, okay. And so how has that worked out then? And has that been a realistic goal that you've managed to achieve? That's our work week as a CEO and a father.
Regularly work. I top out at 30 hours a week. I never work more than that. A lot of weeks, 15, 20, 24 hours a week is sort of my average. Um, and basically, I'm out of the house most days 9 to 5. So
Mhm.
I'll do like a lot of the morning with our kids.
Mhm.
And then I'll be home at like 4:30, 5ish, have dinner, play, bedtime, that kind of stuff. But between 9 and 5, I do everything for me. So I'll work, but I'll also go to the gym, get my hair cut,
Mhm.
you know, go and get coaching, go and do the dump run. Like I do everything like 9 to 5. So that means that I end up working like 20, 25 hours a week, but I'm always in a
Mhm.
good place because I make the time to look after myself as well.
And there's never been a more dad statement that you also include the dump run.
It's got to
Why
be
do
done.
dads love the dump so much?
Well, I suppose we might be in charge. Well, equally, my wife will do it. Yeah, the green waste has to go to the dump, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, love that. And so, what advice would you have for anyone listening who would love that balance of, so 20 for less work hour a week, but they are juggling multiple things, kids, care and responsibilities, perhaps still working other jobs while building up their own business? What advice could you give them?
Yeah, so not many of us can like click our fingers overnight and this kind of just happens. But I would love every business owner to challenge themselves and say, what is it that I actually want? And it might be that you say, right, I want my business to be able to sustain, I want to earn like 80 grand a year, for example, and I want to work 20 hours a week and I want to have the flexibility to do X, Y, and Z. They're all fine goals. The next question is,
Mm.
okay, how do I make it happen? What
Mhm.
position do I have to be in? How do I spend my time? So for me in my business, I played a game. So I was currently working like 50 hours a week. I said, right, I'm only allowed to work 40 hours next week. What do I do? What changes
Mm.
in my behavior? What tasks do I have to say no to now? And then you end up getting rid of all those fringe tasks that you accept.
Mhm.
They're always like maybes in your head, like, well, maybe if I do that like extra podcast, it might lead to a few leads, or like, whatever. So you kind of play this game, and then you get to this point where you're constantly challenging yourself to only focus on the most highest leverage tasks in your business.
Mhm.
um and that's the position that I'm in now. Like, I mean, I run Awesome Supplements working like 8 hours a week. So I'm involved in NPD, new product development, strategic alignment, and working with my COO on how the team is functioning.
Mhm.
And then I'm there for the team on like specific things, quite often around marketing or product. And then I'm working on our like investment strategy for the future. And that's it. Everything else is outsourced, done by team members. And then the other
Mhm.
10 or 15 hours a week that I work, I now do coaching. So I coach entrepreneur men on business and high performance. And it works beautifully. But I just had to keep having that challenge of like, it's like the game where you say, oh, what if you were to go on holiday for a month next month? How would your business run? Like, what would you do? And you're just forced to
Mhm.
boil down the really essential stuff. Of course, every business is different.
Mhm.
So, my comments come with like, a pinch of salt, but allow yourself to dream that that is possible, because it is.
Why not?
It
Yeah,
totally
why
is.
not?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So for me, like, let's say there's coaches and consultants out there, which there will be.
Yep.
If I said to you, you can't work 40 hours next week, you can only work 20. And they're like, oh, well, if I only coach 15 people, I'm only going to earn 3 grand. I'm like, well, your prices need to go up. You need to find clients that are willing to pay you more. Like, my coaching is expensive. I'm also really freaking good and get incredible results, and it's very valuable. So people are in the community that, the type of people that I coach, they are willing to pay that
Mhm.
amount of money for the results that I can give them. So
Mhm.
then my next strategy, so if I wasn't in that position, if I couldn't charge that much, my next question is, how do I become that more valuable? Or if I want my product to be more premium, how do I make it more premium? So
Mhm.
it's all just questions. Like the quality of our outcomes are dictated by the powerfulness of the question we're willing to ask.
Love that. Getting really honest with yourself about what do I actually want here, because you can just really get stuck into business and it's so far removed from the initial idea.
Yeah,
Sometimes you do have to sit down, have a little meeting with yourself and get honest about what is it I want here and how do I make it work. I
yeah,
love that. Saying to yourself, right, you're only allowed to work X amount of hours next week. And I
yeah.
feel like I had to adopt that sort of model there over the kids' summer holidays there, school holidays. So it's the first time I've been faced with that. And I adopted this sort of glass ball, rubber ball theory, if you've heard of that before. The glass
Uh,
balls I can't drop. These are the must
okay.
do's. These are like my
Yeah.
paying clients that are relying on me. The rubber balls, they can bounce back. I can drop them for a bit because I really only did have pockets of time to work. So I
Mm.
guess without knowing it, I sort of adopted that strategy myself. Like, okay, next week you've only got 8 hours. What are we doing with them? What's the glass balls? Can we pick up any rubber balls? So
Great
yeah,
analogy. I love it. And be interesting for you is like, now you've done that, you might even view some of those rubber balls a bit differently.
yep,
Like, do I
yep.
even want to go back to doing that, or is that a valuable task for me?
Absolutely. It's made me really rethink, geez, everything's fine. We've managed to tick over really nicely over the summer holidays, even though I was only really prioritising real non-negotiables. So yeah, the rubber balls there, has anything slipped from dropping them? And things like PR and stuff like that, yeah, we need to do that and I let that slip a little bit, but I can easily pick that back up. And other things, I've not missed them at all. So that's something I can actually drop, which is great. So yeah, it's been an interesting exercise. I would definitely encourage anyone to do that. You're only allowed to
Mm.
work X amount next week. What does that look like? Good
Mm.
exercise, definitely. Now you're a busy man. You've just mentioned a whole load of things that you're involved in there, but you managed to do it in time that works for you and works for your life, works for your family. Love that. But I would love to know what a day looks like for you then. You kind of casually mentioned it there, but what sort of daily routines, habit practices do you have to keep yourself performing at your best in everything that you do?
So I like to start the daily performance conversation at bedtime because I think that's your commitment to making sure that you've got enough energy for the day.
Mhm.
So my kids go to bed at like 6:45-ish. They're still young, they're 3 and 5.
Okay.
We take them up to bed, story time, and then I'll walk the dog, and then a little bit of life admin. There's always life admin. And then me and the wife will watch telly for an hour. I massage her feet, and I'll go up to bed um, at like 9:15, 9:30. I'm usually asleep by 9:45, 10. I don't have an alarm. I've never had an alarm. I don't like alarms, don't like the idea of it, like being woken up like "Bam, bam, 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 bam." No.
Oh no.
So
My husband's got a whole series of alarms that wake him up in the morning, and we've had so many fallouts about it. It's heart attack inducing in the morning.
yeah.
To be fair, the kids are our alarms most days, but
Mm.
yeah, I'm with you on that. Beeping noise or
Mm.
something to wake you up, I can't think of anything worse.
So I'm in bed early, and then I'll wake up naturally anywhere from like 4:30 to 5:30.
Oh, okay, it's early.
And um, it is early, but I've still had 6.5, 7 hours sleep,
You've gone
which
to
is,
bed early. Yep.
yeah, which is what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Some people need longer. My wife needs
Mm-hmm.
longer. She loves like 8, 9 hours sleep. So like, cool. That
Same.
affords me, yeah, women generally will need more sleep than men. That's just a thing. That affords me an hour by myself in the morning, sometimes a bit
Mm.
longer. So I'll get up, I'll go downstairs, I'll take a pint of water with electrolytes and creatine, and then I'll go out in my garden and I'll ground, get my feet on the grass, feel the cold air.
Mm.
If the sun's coming up, like beautiful. And I'll just spend 5 minutes just being grateful for nature, myself, that moment. And then I'll go inside, I'll make a coffee, and I'll just sort of stop and breathe. And I'll say, what does this morning need of me? So I have no strict morning routine. I used to try and program myself like a robot, but I'm not a robot. I'm a human. And on any given day, I might need something. So I might feel a little bit like overwhelmed for some reason, or there might be
Mm-hmm.
a project that I'm really excited on, and I might choose to work in that hour, or there might be something that I'm trying to kind of like work through on kind of like a mental and emotional level. So I might go and meditate. Some mornings I might do some breath work. Some mornings I can't be bothered to do anything and I just want to be. So I make a coffee, make my breakfast, read a little bit of a book. Like there's literally no plan for that first hour apart from what I need. And it's for me. It's my hour that I lock in every day because I'm naturally quite an introverted person. I like my own time. And if I don't get my own time for a couple of days, I can get a little crabby. So I try and
Mm-hmm.
protect that time in the morning. And, yeah, some days I'll work, some days I'll meditate, some days I'll do, whatever. When wind back 12 months ago, nearly every morning was kind of meditation. I was working through becoming more mentally open, resilient. I was working through a lot of mental and emotional challenges, so my
Mm-hmm.
morning routine was a bit more fixed because there was stuff that I was kind of working on. The last couple of weeks I've worked more than usual because I'm building something new. I'm quite excited about it. I like the morning clarity around it, but that's not an every morning thing. And then the kids will get up like 6:30, 7-ish. I'll be with them for like the first hour, hour and a half, making breakfast, play, like do whatever. The kitchen's my job. So like we do like the washing up and the dishwashing and all that, bins and all that kind of stuff in the morning.
Same
And
here.
then
Husband, I mean.
and then the wife will get up, get kids dressed, all that kind of stuff. And then I'll generally start work 8:30, 9. Or I'll be in the gym first thing. So like 3 days a week, I'll go to the gym 8:30, 9. And then I'll usually on average work 4 to 5.5 hours a day. And that can be split throughout the day if I've got appointments or, I'm going to go for a run, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes on a morning I'll play paddle with friends. But that's
Mm-hmm.
like the rough rub of the green. And then like
Mm-hmm.
literally I'm always home by 5 o'clock unless I'm working away. don't usually work away more than twice a month. I just
Mm-hmm.
find more than that for me is just like a bit much, find it a bit dysregulating and puts a
Mm-hmm.
bit more pressure on my wife. And then, yeah, dinner time, 5 o'clock with the kids, little play, all that kind of stuff. And if I'm not there for that, I really miss it. Like I like seeing my kids every day. It's like, oh, yeah, how have you
Yeah.
grown? What's changed? Like, let's hang out.
Yeah. And so I think the key themes there is, although you're saying there's nothing structured and, every day's a bit different, which I love as well, because we're not robots, like you say. And it can, I've heard so many morning routines that are like, you've got to journal, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And that can in itself bring pressure if you're just not feeling it that morning. So I love that, where you're taking that time to ask, how am I feeling? Just checking in, and what do I need this morning? But I think some of the key themes, though, you're saying there's a fairly strict bedtime and wake up time, and your finish time as well. So there's time boundaries there, which are sort of woven into most days. Yeah. Um, Exercise, work, and then that family time. Are these the sort of common themes that run through each day?
Yep. And that will be a pattern for like 4 to 6 weeks. And then I'll always have a holiday. So this year, I think I'm going on 10, maybe 11 holidays.
Awesome.
A, I love it. B, it's fun. C, I love it. And
And are these
a,
family holidays, or you and your
a
wife, or
mixture. So we've got
mix?
like
Okay.
4 or 5 holidays with the kids, 3 holidays by myself, maybe four. The wife's got 2 holidays. Then we've got a couple of holidays together. Everyone has a bit of what they kind of want. And I like, there's certain adventures that I like going on that my wife
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. And also I like going away by myself. Like I like a personal reset. I've also got groups of friends that I want to go away with, and
Mm-hmm.
do, different things. So I bake that into my year. And most of
Mm-hmm.
the holidays that I've had this year, we sat down at like towards the end of last year and we were like, what do we want to do next year? Okay, let's go to Portugal in July, and I'm going to go to this festival in March, and we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you work around it. So for me, it's a real priority to get those holidays and times away and life adventures
Yep.
in the diary.
Ben, and do you know what I'm getting from speaking to you is that there's so much that you do for yourself, which is to help you and enable you be a better husband, a better father, and a better part of your team, but better CEO. But you know what? The difference whenever I'm speaking to female business owners, there's so much guilt around everything, and I
Mhm.
don't hear one bit of guilt coming from you, which is so refreshing. Could you give us female business owners who are juggling all these plates some advice about how important it is to take that time for yourself? How do we do it without feeling that mum guilt, as it's often branded?
Very challenging for me to answer this question, given my situation. So I am in a very good situation. So I work 20, 25 hours a week. My wife doesn't have to work. So she
Okay.
is primary caregiver. She has all the time to do what she wants to do for the kids and for our home life and all the rest of it. She does do a couple of hours in our business, but she doesn't even need to do that. We're in that kind of position. So I have that, as in like that gives me and affords me freedom, but we've built that together. Lee, how a mum, I would say, naturally thinks about her role is different to how a man thinks.
Yep. Because even the
If I
hour story
think,
where you're saying, what does this hour need for me? And I understand that you're doing it in order to be better in all areas of your life. Like, I totally get it. But generally, a mother, a business owner is asking, what does everyone else need from me today? What do I need to do? And you're last. But we would love to have that, to turn that around to the way you're saying it.
so when I wake up in the morning, it's not just me that's part of the conversation, it's also my environment. Some mornings I'll be doing things for the family. So it is a what do I need and then what does everyone else need from me?
Mhm.
If my wife worked, the conversation I would have to have would be more in favor of like what does other people need from me, because she might need help doing more for the kids because she's also got to
Mhm.
work and stuff. So anyway, backtracking. Everything can be changed through learned behavior. So sometimes you have to try things on for size and see that like nothing breaks, for example. So if you as a
Mhm.
female wakes up in the morning and say, do you know what? I'm going to take half an hour for me this morning and go out for a walk, and dad can sort the kids out. Like, you go out, you come home, oh, nothing broke, nothing burnt down, people are dressed, bums are wiped. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So you kind of like test it. One of the things I have heard from people in this situation is, because the communication in the relationship isn't as strong as it can be, and because the man doesn't often think about the family unit enough, there's this kind of like unspoken expectation that the mum just takes the load because it's
Mm.
not been communicated effectively enough and the load isn't been shared enough. Um, so it's almost like the mum then thinks, oh, well, there's no point even like asking, because like this is what he wants to do. And I don't know. I think there's definitely a natural propensity is for the female. Like, I'll sit down with, my wife on a Sunday, because we do like our week's planning on a Sunday with like food and
Mm.
that kind of stuff. And I have to sit there and encourage my wife. I'm like, what are you doing for yourself this week? Like, how can I
Mm.
help you? And that's where our couples conversation comes in. So I say to her,
Mhm.
how can I help you this week? What space do you need? What support do you need, etc.? And she's quite often at a bit of a loss. She's like, well, kids are doing this and I'm doing that. And I'm like, but you. And that is her
Mm.
natural. So she needs me to say to her what you're doing for yourself. And sometimes she needs to pull me in a little bit and go, oh, I need your help a little bit here. So it's kind of teamwork. Like, but think, like, try it. Like, if you're a mum, like, and if you get woken up your kids every day, maybe tomorrow say, I'm going to set my alarm up 30 minutes before the kids wake up, and I'm going to see how it feels to come downstairs and just have 20 minutes by myself,
Mm.
do whatever I want. Like, just try these things on for size, because think about it. If we're all like a pint of water and we're constantly at the brim, we haven't got any room, our cup is full, we're not going to be our best selves. And I think
Yeah.
one of the reasons I feel our family unit works really well is like, we don't ever try and fit too much in. We're never at full
Mhm.
capacity. We're never fully stretched. And partly is because we don't live a really busy life. Like, our life is full of fun things and adventure, but it's also full of a lot of presence in the home life. We flow. There's never any rushing in our house. There's never any like, oh my God, we're trying to do 1,000 things 2 minutes before, going out the door for school, because, you know, we we don't want to live like that. So try these things on for size.
That's really good advice. And if you do have a partner and you're making sure that communication's strong and you're asking how you can support each other, that's super important, isn't it?
Also
Yeah, it's
share, like,
just
as the mum, share your guilt, like share that emotion, literally say to your partner, me doing this, I feel guilty. And I think Brits in general, if I was to say, real crude, we're not good at really saying how we feel and like
mm,
what we want. And it's like nothing changes until we say how we feel and what we want. And you'll be surprised at how much support rallies around you when you just honor what it
mhm.
is that you want. Like, if my wife comes to me tomorrow and goes, this is what I really want, I'm like, cool, how do we make it work together? Or if she's feeling a certain way, I'm like, I'm sorry you feel like that. What do we need to do to make you feel better? Like, my support is totally open and unconditional.
Yeah, so that's good. Thank you, Ben, for putting that sort of spin on it. Just struck me there through our conversation how this exact conversation sounds very different when I'm speaking to female business owners. So yeah, I thought it'd be nice to address that. So I think that's a really nice sort of way to wrap up our conversation today, unless there's anything you'd like to chat about that we haven't spoken about already. Yeah,
Hopefully people
covered a
got some
lot.
value from this podcast. I think so much in business, there's so many like what feels like unwritten rules out there with business, and your time, and just be willing to ask yourself hard questions, like challenge what you're doing, challenge the status quo. Can you rewrite the rules? Because we are doing this, yes, because we want to provide a service or a product or something to the marketplace, but like, a lot of us want freedom and flexibility, and make sure
Yeah,
you're giving yourself that. Like,
yeah,
you haven't just made yourself another job, that quite
yeah.
often asks more of you than the job you had beforehand.
Gosh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then we can turn into being our own worst bosses. Potentially we've left a boss and then became worse ourselves,
Mm.
doing it to ourselves. Yeah, excellent. And of course, everyone listening wants to know where we can find you. You're a bit of everywhere, aren't you? Where have you got a sort of main hub we can come and connect with you?
Probably Instagram or LinkedIn is probably the best places, but I'm, all over the internet at bencoomber.com. I don't actively run the show at the moment, but I have a podcast that has a lot of solo episodes of high
Mm-hmm.
performance um, kind of concepts, sleep, caffeine intake, and that's the Awesome Human if people wanted to listen.
Fab. Okay, so I'll link to that in the show notes today for your website, your Instagram, and your podcast. And Ben is also very kindly offering listeners 15% off awesome supplements today too. Yeah?
Yes, if anyone wants to try it, you can use code CEO15. A lot of
Excellent.
entrepreneurs say, "Oh, if I was to take like a couple of supplements, what should I take?" And I always say baseline, high quality vitamin and mineral, which is awesome defense, omega-3, because literally no one eats enough omega-3. And then probably a hydration product. And then if you don't have enough protein, maybe a protein powder. So if anyone wanted to steer, that would be your steer. Oh, and a lot of business owners struggle with sleep. And we've got an unbelievable sleep formula that business
Mm.
owners love.
Yeah, often that's sort of wired but tired. I hear from business owners, there's just so many ideas and whatnot, and
Mm.
perhaps they've not had the time they wanted during the day, trying to fit in a million things to really explore ideas and get thinking about stuff. So often when you lie down in bed is when these things come to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so I will definitely be having a look at that. Thank you so much for the discount code. I will link to all of this in the show notes today, where you can find Ben, link to the website as well, so you can check out awesome supplements. And of course, I'm sure if you've got any questions for Ben following this, just drop him a DM or comment on Instagram and LinkedIn. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me.
pleasure. Thank you for joining us.